What's up, people? You're watching the Surrounded Baptist episode number, I think it's 4 or 5. I am in Lexington, Kentucky right now. I just got here, have a meeting in an hour or so. I still have about a 15-minute drive to make, so this episode's going to be a short one, or the length that I typically would want my episodes to be, more like that. And my name is Gunnar Gunnarsson. I'm the pastor of a church plant in Reykjavik, Iceland, Loftvan Baptistkirkja. We're currently the only Reformed church in the country and the only Icelandic-speaking Baptist church in the country. Now, like I said, it's going to be a different kind of episode. My notes are written on this McDonald's paper bag. And today's topics, we're going to be talking about North Korea, their propaganda, how it's working out, that type of stuff. Valentines Day, the school shooting that just happened, and I'm going to give a little bit of an update on the trip that I'm on thus far. So this episode and the next one is going to be different from what we're used to doing. Obviously, no royalty-free intro music. I guess I can make a beat or something, but I'll spare you that. Anyways, if we just jump into it now. Maybe before we jump into it, I want to let you know, if you want to know more about the Iceland Project, about our church, about our work that we're doing over here, then you can go to the icelandproject.org to find more information. You can sign up for our monthly-ish update email there. You can, if you want to support the Iceland Project, we are fully funded as of right now. We don't need any more money, but we want to reach beyond just supporting us. We want to see more healthy, Christ-exalting, gospel-centered, and multiplying churches planted in the country of Iceland. If you want to be a part of that, then you can go sign up for the monthly-ish newsletter. At the bottom of every email, you'll see information on how to give to us. If you want to get to that now, you can go to the Facebook page, the Iceland Project, on Facebook, and there you'll see that we've shared a few of our last emails. You can open up one of those emails, go to the bottom of the email, and check out the information there. Now let's just jump into this. I've been here in the States. It's very interesting, the hype going on around the Winter Olympics. But I've especially been noticing, like a lot of people have, the North Korea thing happening in the States right now. There's a lot of news outlets talking about this. And giving their different takes on it. I'd like to give a little bit of a different twist, but if you haven't been noticing this, the North Korea team is playing alongside in some areas, some aspects of the sports, alongside with the South Korean team, and the sister of the dictator there is a part of the Olympics, and she's actually in a high position in the Communist Party over there. She is actually in the Department of Propaganda, and it seems to be working quite well for her. There's a lot of people who, I think CNN just posted an article how she's stealing the show, that type of stuff. And a lot of people have been watching their cheer squad. Now, I just learned that one cheer squad, when coming back to North Korea, got sentenced to labor camp because they talked about what they saw outside of North Korea. Now, we got to remember, in all of this insanity, she can put a smile on her face, but she is the sister and a part of the government that systematically kills their people and takes their rights away. I mean, if you just look at North Korea, starvation is happening there. I mean, I don't remember the exact numbers, but you can find this somewhere online. Like, the overall weight of the whole population has gone down over the years. The height of the population has gone down over the years. And so, I mean, it's a crazy regime. We have brothers and sisters over there in our faith who are worshiping Jesus Christ like we do, and they get sentenced to labor camps or death if they have a Bible present. I mean, this is an insane thing, and a lot of people are captivated because he gave a smile, because the cheering squad is doing so well. While in the meantime, that cheering squad has no freedom. I mean, they are escorted to the bathroom out of fears that they would run and try to seek asylum in South Korea. We have to remind ourselves that there is more than a smile that matters in all of this. I mean, it's absolute insanity. And maybe a weird story that I feel like connects to this is Valentine's Day. Now, I'm in Iceland most of the time. Valentine's Day has not become a big thing. I've seen lately more and more over the past few years that actually American holidays have become a bigger part of Icelandic culture. Thanksgiving, for instance, it's a weird one because I think it's a celebration of a very typical American thing and not necessarily an Icelandic thing. So, and Valentine's Day is coming in and that type of stuff. Well, I've been thinking about sort of the modern thoughts on romance and love and the shallow nature of it and the shallowing nature of it. I mean, it seems over the years that our view of what love is going down each year, and what I really think has sort of captured our attention when it comes to romance is emotionalism. And I think that's the same thing that's happening with this propaganda from North Korea during the Winter Olympics. And it's like, look at the horrific realities going on there, and you're captured by a smile. I mean, it's your emotions at play that kind of wants you to say that this woman has stolen the show, and you're not really thinking about the facts enough. And in modern society, like, as I've been looking at the cards and stuff, we don't have this stuff in Iceland, so it's been very interesting, but I've been looking at the cards, and I mean, it's the Hollywood type of version of romance that doesn't last. And I've been thinking about my own life, and just over the past 2 years of our married life, I mean, it's been super hectic with the ministry going on, lots of work going on, but also when our son got diagnosed with chemo, we spent a good portion of the year at the hospital, separated. I was taking care of Sigurd. She was pregnant and at the hospital with him, and then we would take turns of being there. Now, when my third child was born just 10 months ago, again, we spent a lot of time at the hospital. He was born with a genetic mutation that only 2 other people in the world have, which meant that none of the doctors were looking for it. No one knew what they were looking for. And so just to get a diagnosis, it was a process of taking so many tests, sending him all over the world, try to find out what is it that's going on with this baby. And I've been thinking about my marriage and how much I love my wife, but comparing it to sort of the Valentine view of romance and love, and really thanking God for the fact that we view love more than just a romantic feeling. Because I can tell you this, there were times when we were going through chemo and we were separated, like I was at work and then I'd go home and I'll take care of Mikael and she would go take care of Sigros so that she could spend some time with her and I could spend some time with him, and we would see each other very little. And if our marriage and our view of love was only driven by romance, I'm not the guy that's saying we shouldn't have romance, but at the same time, we should not view love only as romance. The love is also where you, like me as a husband, I read Ephesians 5 on being the head of your household, leading your family well, and laying down your life for your bride and for your family, like Christ laid his life down for the church. And it's a sacrificial thing, and a lot of times laying down your life doesn't really give you butterflies in your stomach. I mean, a lot of times you take responsibility, you work hard, you do what has to be done. Romance is in there, most definitely. And what I've learned is the more I get to know my wife, the more I get to hang out with my wife, the more I see her heart, especially when I see her grow in faith, man, she becomes more beautiful to me every day. And I thought it was weird when people would say, here, like, after 30 years of marriage, I love my wife more than I date the day I met her. And I had this shallow view of love, and I was asking myself, how can you compete to the butterflies in your stomach that you had when you just met her? That's what I thought of love, and I think that's what a lot of people think of love. It's really quite sad, but now I get it, man. I have this wonderful woman whom I thank God for every day, that he has blessed me with this woman who has grown in faith, who has been there for me, who has loved me well, and who makes it easy for me as the head of the household and the husband to lay my life down for her, because I want to love her well. I want her to see that I'm willing to lay my life down for her. I mean, so it's just an interesting thing over here with the whole Valentine's Day thing. It's kind of sad. And the reality is that we see the results of it, man. We don't see, it's become more rare every decade or every year that we see marriages last, for instance. And we live in a sort of committophobic culture where a lot of people are afraid of commitment. They live for the butterflies, and that may cause them to always seek the next fix. And if they get committed, then maybe it gets boring, and when it gets boring, well, then I'm falling out of love. And it's like, well, what about all the stuff? Like, how about committing yourself and showing your love, that it's more than just romantic feelings, that it's more than just butterflies in your stomach and that sort of stuff, but actually it is you not just saying with your words or feeling butterflies in your stomach that you love her, but actually showing your love when it gets tough. That's the reason why we say in marriage ceremonies, through thick and thin, or whatever whatever comes, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna love you, and I'm gonna, as a husband, lay my life down for you, to display the gospel that Christ, he came, and he is the leader of the church. He's the head of the church. And what kind of head is he? Well, he's the kind of head that came and he laid his life down for the people who didn't deserve it. And so, I mean, loving your wife when you feel like laying your life down, and you feel like, I think I'm right in this, and I think she's wrong, and I think she shouldn't have said that or done that. But at the same time, having a higher example to look at than just your feelings, it's an amazing thing to have as a Christian. To look beyond the current circumstances that you have. You look to the cross of Jesus Christ, where his blood was shed on your behalf, where he was the king of the universe, creator of the universe. He's the judge, and now he has become your savior. I mean, there's nothing better in this world to have. And I've thanked God for the fact that I really realize that when I view the bloody cross, I have no reason not to love. Like, I always have a reason to love, because it's not based on how that person treats me. It's really easy to love the individual that loves you back, but what about the person who says stuff to you, who is bad towards you? What about you hit a tough patch in your married life? What then? Is your love just gonna be based on the romance? What when that is gone? When you go through a tough patch like we have, through the hospital visits and the nurses appointments and the physical therapy with our sons and the chemo and all that stuff, what then? Are you still gonna love? And if so, what is your example gonna be? What are you gonna look at when you don't have the butterflies, when you can't be driven by emotions? And so, like, when I view Valentine's Day and I view the North Korea propaganda thing, I feel like emotionalism is taking place, where we're just driven by our emotions. We see a nice smile by that nice North Korean lady, not realizing that, oh, she's a part of the regime that kills people for having Bibles. That's bad. I mean, it's sad that we live in a society only driven by emotions. And now to the school shooting. I have just been reminded over the fact that it never ceases to amaze me what humans are capable of, you know? It never ceases to amaze me that we can do something like this, that an individual can walk into a school and shoot children, watch them die in front of you. And I've been thinking about the war, not the war, but I've been thinking about wars lately and how it's developed over the years. And I think back even before guns existed. Now, I just came to America. First day I got here, I went to a gun range and shot a fully automatic and a semi-automatic and a shotgun and pistols, and it was lots of fun, man. But at the same time, I was thinking about it then, and thinking about weapons development over the years in the history of mankind, and thinking about the wars that happened when you had spears and you had swords and you had people that would use, when you lost your sword, you would use your bare hands to kill your enemy, and what that would do to a person. Can you imagine those tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people lined up to ram into each other, and that's a human being that you don't have a beef with. This is your king or emperor or whatever. He has his thing going on. Now you face this individual who is just an individual like you and has no gains in this war. And he is probably thinking along the same lines as you are, that if this enemy army gets past me, then behind me is my family, my children who are going to be slaves, my wife that's going to be raped and killed, and so on and so forth. But you're looking at, like, you're not standing away from the person, hundreds of meters away, shooting and barely seeing the effects of your weapon taking place on his or her body. You barely see the person dying sometimes, You think about, especially now with drones, like you can literally sit in an office in another country and blow other people to pieces, and it can be so detaching. But back then, it was spears. You were looking at the guy and you were taking a spear through his stomach, looking at him as he screamed and died. But at the same time, I was thinking about that as well when the school shooting happened, because it's in the hallways. Like, he is looking at children that he killed, and somehow he got to that place. And we live in a culture, it's very interesting because we live in a culture that says, follow your heart. But then you think, man, but the human heart is capable of some heinous things. Some absolutely horrific and despicable things. You look at this guy. You look at Pol Pot's or Mao, probably not Mayo, Mao. You look at Hitler, you look at Stalin, you look at dictatorial people now. I mean, North Korea. And we live in a culture that says follow your heart. At the same time, we have never been saturated like this before in what the human heart is capable of. I mean, people can do something in the Middle East, in Libya, and like ISIS. I mean, they're beheading people, and we can see the results of people, many of whom are following their heart. And the biblical view of the human heart is rather a depressing one, right? The heart is deceitful and wicked above all. Who can understand it? And you see all these Valentines Day cards, follow your heart, and you just got to think, like, is this the result of modern thinking, postmodern thinking, that there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right, it's just whatever you want it to be? I've just been contemplating the depth and depravity of our human condition. It's been eye-opening to me. I've been thinking about a lot of things this trip. Had a lot of time to do it. Been driving. Just hit 670 miles that I've been driving so far. Probably won't go beyond 2,000 miles this trip, but still, a lot of driving, a lot of time to think, a lot of time to pray. Now, from that was just some of my thoughts. You can do whatever what do you guys think? I mean, is this the fruit of a culture that says follow your heart without a moral anchor? I remember in my news interview with BBC a couple of months back, it didn't get included in the interview. He was asking, shouldn't we just celebrate science? Shouldn't we just celebrate? And it was with regards to Down syndrome children being almost never born in Iceland. There's one or two per year, because we abort all of them in the womb if there's even the slightest chance that they have Down syndrome. And he was saying, isn't this just progressive, thinking? Isn't this just science? And shouldn't we just, isn't science just good? And I was trying to make the point that science, unhinged and unanchored in any moral authority, is not just good. Yeah, we're great at healing people. We're great at finding new medicine that can help people live better, live longer, that type of stuff. But we're also capable of the atomic bomb. And we can kill people like we have never before. There can be a guy in an office somewhere in the Pentagon who can be blowing people to pieces up in some other country, and that's science too, and that can be used for horrific things. So it's just you gotta think where emotionalism will end up drawing us. What is the end result of all of this, with emotionalism detached from facts, and just whatever you think, follow your heart. It's scary, man. Now, going on to this trip, this is going to be very different shows now. I'm trying to keep them shorter, but I want to give you an update on this trip. So this show and the next show will be from this trip, so not the typical set that we have. But if you want to send in questions or be a part of shaping the conversation, you can feel free to drop a video preferably, or add a document to our Google Drive. I have it pinned to the top on the Stranded Baptist Facebook page. So if you go to the Stranded Baptist on Facebook, which I think is just facebook.com/The Stranded Baptist, it may be /Stranded Baptist. Check that out. Go if you want to upload a video asking questions about Iceland or some news or whatever. If you want to be a part of shaping the discussion, feel free to go there. So I landed here Sunday. They had to cancel service as I was flying out Sunday morning. My flight got delayed because a hurricane was coming. Now, someone told me that I shouldn't say the word hurricane because that's not what I mean. He says a hurricane is kind of like a tornado. But I thought a tornado was a tornado and a hurricane was like winds. So I don't understand how that works in the English language. But there's a lot of winds and there was a lot of snow. And so we were actually the last flight to take off before all other flights were shut down. It was crazy weather. They had to cancel the service because of the weather. The authorities were telling people if they could possibly avoid going out, then please do that. I ended up flying for 23 hours. It was a rough trip. I got delayed in Iceland because of weather. I landed in New York. Something about the weather, it didn't seem that bad to me, but something about the weather delayed the flight from New York to Detroit. And then something about the weather in Detroit delayed the flight from Detroit to Knoxville. So I slept 3 hours, traveled for 23 hours, got here, and was a shell of a man. I had nothing left to give. I got here. He told me there was a service ending at the Severe Heights Baptist Church, the church I'm mainly here for right now, and asked me if I wanted to stop by. I was kind of iffy about it. I said yeah, and then I was kind of nervous about the impressions that I made. But I'm so glad to be here. The Monday I came, I just took a personal day to try to get over the jet lag. I still haven't gotten over the jet lag, and it may be because I'm not really sleeping well. I think I slept about 4 or 5 hours tonight. Well, I had to get up early to drive to Lexington from Knoxville. So I'm in Lexington, Kentucky right now, about to meet with some people. Let's not jump ahead. So the Tuesday, I got to meet with the pastoral staff at Severe Heights Baptist Church. Amazing people. And what's blown me away about that church is that we've had people come to our church in Iceland for a Sunday gathering from Knoxville. I've told them that one of our supporting churches is from there. It's Severe Heights Baptist Church. And everyone I've met so far in and around here that I talk to have nothing but great things to say about this church. So it's a great testimony to, to what God is doing here and how God has blessed this church. And there are exciting things happening here. So I got to meet with them. I met with a pastor from another church, Victory Baptist Church, I think it's called, in Maryville. I said Maryville. People started laughing at me. Apparently it's like Murrayville, or Murray, I don't even know how to say it. Murrayville. So I met with them. I'm about to meet with them again next week. And I'm here to meet with our supporting churches. So I'm driving, and I said I was going to cover the trip in our last episode, and I realized I didn't even get into it our last episode. So maybe I'll cover it now. I'm driving right now. Today I'm in Lexington, Kentucky, meeting up with some people. Tomorrow I'll be in Asheville, North Carolina, meeting up with some people as well. Monday and Tuesday I'll be in Huntsville, Alabama. And Wednesday I'll be in Georgia. So I'm meeting up with some supporting churches, and I'm also meeting up with any pastors interested in knowing more about the Iceland Project, telling them about our needs for prayer and also our financial needs, because we want to see more churches planted. We're fully financed right now, but we want to grow beyond just supporting us on the ground. We want to see more people come in, more people plant churches. And so I'm preaching, or preaching would be a strong term for it. I'm speaking at in Knoxville this Sunday. Now, if you want to come to any of these, you should probably double check the service times. But I think it's 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 8 p.m. Next Sunday, I'll be speaking at Severe Heights Baptist Church. It will be in their North Campus, and then I'll be at the main campus at 6 p.m. as a part of panel discussion about international missions. So if you're in the area, love to see you. But right now, I'm here. Yesterday, I had the joy of going to my first ever Presbyterian service. So I went up to Crossville, Tennessee. I met with the elders of the church there. It was a great sermon. I met with the people in that church, and I got to share a little bit about how I came to faith and the work going on in Iceland. So that was great. They gave me an awesome gift, typical Presbyterian gift. I think I took it inside. I was going to see if it's in the back. No, it's they gave me Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion. So I've never had it. I've listened to it on audiobook form, which I liked, but at the same time, it's not the same as getting to highlight some stuff and really think about it. I used to listen to that book, which I think was like 75 hours long, while I was working back in the grocery store before I planted a church. So whenever I heard about Calvinism for the first time, I saw that a lot of people recommended me to read that book. And I was working 9 hours a day, and I got to listen to stuff all day. So I decided to listen to that audiobook, and I can't wait to get my teeth into this book, highlight it, dwell on it, think about it. So it's been a good trip so far. Like I said, I am a bit jet lagged. Now I just got here after 3 hours of driving to Lexington, Kentucky. It's a part of the island mentality, I think, that I just kind of think that if you can drive there, it's short. Which, when you're stuck on an island, typically that is the case. Not so much here in America. And I realized I learned a little bit from that last trip I made, which was about 2 years ago. I was doing the same thing, meeting with supporting churches and other churches that were interested in learning about Iceland. I landed in D.C., drove all the way down to Georgia and Alabama, and then back up to Delaware and New York. I think that trip I drove about 5,000 miles in 3 weeks. And in the beginning of the trip, someone gave me a $100 McDonald's card. And another person, I met with the owner of a Chick-fil-A, and he gave me like a stack of free meals. And I was trying to save money. So I just decided to eat McDonald's and Chick-fil-A for the whole trip, and it was very interesting. By the way, there's something in your food over here. I'm telling you, like, I'm breaking out all over my face. I don't know if it's the chlorine in the water or whatever. And by the way, I think it's so interesting that you Americans don't taste the chlorine in the water. I know a lot of Americans that complain when they come over here to Iceland. They tell me the hot water smells like rotten eggs. Well, it's because it comes from underground, and we don't heat our water in our houses and that type of stuff. But here, man, your water tastes like chlorine. It's really hard for me to just brush my teeth. Yeah, it's like you taste that chlorine in it. I don't know if it's the chlorine in the water or something in the food, but my face has allergies. It's showing. This food is really hitting me bad. But after that trip, the last one I did for 3 weeks and drove that length, I started getting twitch in my thumb. It just kept going like that, and I couldn't control it. It was just like that, and it was about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks into the trip, it just started doing that. And after I got home, it did that for 3 weeks. And so I can recommend to you not to eat Chick-fil-A and McDonald's for 3 weeks straight. It does something to your nervous system or something. It may have been that, plus the driving, plus maybe not sleeping a whole lot during those 3 weeks. But I'm just blown away by the fact that I get to do this. I am blown away. You know, if you would have asked me 3 years ago if you know, and told me I would be doing this, I'd probably not believe you. Like, we had already planted our church by then, but we didn't have any supporting churches. I was working full time, and it was just, it was a strange time. And the fact that I get to work now to raise awareness of the need in Iceland, and maybe this is just because I have obviously a lot of my friends know about the work in Iceland, but it seems more and more churches are realizing that Iceland is a mission field, that Scandinavia is a mission field, and more churches are willing to be generous towards us to see mission happen in Iceland. And it's absolutely mind-blowing, and it's set an example for me and our church that we not only want to be a church that receives help, but we want to get to be at a place where we're self-sustainable. But beyond that, we want to be a giving church, because we're here because of very generous people, many of whom I have never even met. And it blows my mind. Like, these churches are filled with people, some of whom are probably in difficult financial circumstances, but they are faithful in giving, and that church is being generous when they could be expanding their facilities or making things nicer. They are sacrificing comfort to be a part of mission work elsewhere in the world. And the people that I've met, I'm just blown away. I'm blown away that I'm here. I'm blown away by the fact that I get to do this. I'm blown away by the people that I meet and the stories that I hear about the churches and how they are involved. It's just amazing. Anyway, so those are a little bit of thoughts. Now, tomorrow I'll be going to Asheville, North Carolina. I'll be meeting with Devin. You probably saw him if you watched the second or the third episode, something like that, when I played the videos from Brian, Jose, and Devin. Then Devin was there. He has lived in Iceland for quite a while. He spent a 2-year period of his life where he would come to Iceland for 3 months, which you can do without having a visa, go back home for 3 months, come back to Iceland for 3 months, go back home, and so on and so forth. So I love the guy. He's getting married here in a few days. I'll miss his wedding, so I'm going to go congratulate them. I'm going to give them a hug. And he's also starting a podcast, so we'll be recording a podcast episode there tomorrow. I'll be meeting some pastors in the area as well there in North Carolina. And I'm going to see. The idea that he has is an amazing idea. He wants to do this episode about sanctification and suffering. But it's going to be more than just the sort of interview that just plays through the interview. He's an amazing editor, video editor. He edited our film, Christian by Default. He's done a lot of video work for us. But now he's getting into this editing of audio as well, and he's going to start this podcast and other podcasts. I'll tell you the name of it when it's about to come out. But I'm going to see if he's okay with it. Then I might just record that interview, put that as an extra thing up here on the Strand Baptist. I might as well see if I can get someone just to set up my phone, maybe plug some audio into it so that we can record the Sunday services. If I can do that, then I'll maybe upload that as an extra thing here. If you want to follow what I've been doing here in America, you can follow me on Instagram at IceGuns, ICEGUNNS, 2 N's. So it's IceGuns. You can follow me there. If you're following me on Instagram and you're thinking, this guy is posting way too much stuff, I'm sorry. This is actually one of the ways that I keep tab on what I've been doing. So when our monthly email update comes out, when I have to start typing it out, I actually just scroll through my Instagram feed. I try to take pictures of all the people I meet with, all the groups that come over, the churches that I visit and so forth, so that I can just scroll back through the month and see what I did. So the reason why I post so much sometimes is also so that I can keep tabs on what I've done, so that I can include that in the next monthly email update and have pictures to go with it as well. So if you're there and if you're thinking he posts way too much stuff, I'm sorry, but bear with me. And if you're interested to follow what I'm doing on the ground in real life, sometimes not real life, because sometimes I have meetings backed up for 6 or 8 hours in a row, and then I'll post stuff after I'm done with all that, because I don't want to be the person who's on his phone during a meeting putting stuff on Instagram, because I'm scared of that. I'm scared that I'll become one of these guys that can't function in a regular conversation anymore, because my phone is not a tool for me to use, but I'm sort of its tool that the phone is just controlling. So I post stuff whenever I have available time, and you can see where I'm at, what I'm doing, if you're interested in that type of stuff. Otherwise, God bless you, and I gotta get going here because I have a meeting in a few minutes here in Lexington, Kentucky, but the people I'm meeting with are actually from West Virginia. So instead of me driving all the way up to West Virginia, they were gracious enough to meet me halfway. So I'm meeting them here in Lexington. We're gonna have lunch together with a few guys from West Virginia to see if there are churches up there that want to be a part of seeing gospel work happen in Iceland. And I'm excited about the meeting, man. I've only met one of these guys before. He came to Iceland on a trip with his wife, and I just met him right as he was going to the airport. But I heard about what he's doing there in West Virginia and the churches that he's working with, and I'm excited about this. So if you're praying for us, please pray for this trip. Please pray for my wife and Carla. Carla is the wife of Logan. They're wanting to move over to Iceland to work with our church for a little bit and then plant out from us. She decided to come over to Iceland for the 2.5 weeks that I'm here to be with Svava to help with the kids, because obviously with Solomon's handicap, with Mikael's autism and the drugs that he needs to be given, and them two taken to preschool, and then Solomon taken to physical therapy and all that, it's too much for one person to do. So I'm super thankful for that. So pray for them at home, and pray for safe travels as I probably end up driving about 1,500 more miles here in America. So spending the day in Lexington and driving back home tonight. God bless you guys, and if you have any questions, then feel free to send an email to thestrandedbaptist@gmail.com, or you can drop a document to our Google Drive, which I regularly check. Now, if you post videos on there, that type of stuff, I probably won't cover those for the next 2 weeks or so. But once I'm back home and once I can sit back down by the mixer and have the TV there, then I'll jump into some of those questions. God bless you guys, and have a nice day.